Hi everybody, I'm Tom Unash. I, together with Chuck Catholi at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, developed the pool screen programs that a lot of people are using here to follow the progress towards elimination of onchocerciasis, both in Latin America and in Africa. And I'm going to go ahead today and give you a quick tour on how to use the two programs that are generally used by the programs to really look at the prevalence of flies carrying infective larvae and also the annual transmission potential calculations that one can do using these two programs. WHO uses two different metrics, entomological metrics, to help you determine whether you can stop treatment and whether in the post-treatment surveillance era that you can do an elimination survey and find that you actually have successfully eliminated transmission of the parasite. The first of these metrics is a measure of the total number of flies, prevalence of flies carrying infective larvae. We determine this using the pool screen program and the pool screen PCR methodologies. For this, the additional metric is that you have to have less than 1 in 2,000 flies carrying infective larvae. This has been chosen based upon the idea from the old OC peer area that transmission really can no longer be self-sustaining if you have less than 1 in 1,000 flies carrying infective larvae. But this is only the Paris flies, and assuming a parity rate of around 50%, which will vary, but it's a good rough calculation, you can say that 1 in 2,000 flies. Less than that, you're basically at a point where transmission is no longer going to be sustainable and the parasite population is going to die out. Now, we just don't rely on the point estimate here. We actually require that the upper bound of the 95% confidence interval be less than 1 in 2,000 flies, or 0.05%. So we have a program that was originally developed called Pool Screen 2.0 that we can go ahead and use to calculate this based upon your pool screen results. And I'm going to start by showing you this Pool Screen 2.0 program because it's the easiest to use, and it also is the one that's most commonly used by many of the programs. So if we can focus down on the screen now, we'll go ahead and do this. So we'll start by looking at an Excel spreadsheet that you may have developed based upon the results that you have gotten from your pool screen PCRs. And it is going to look like this. The number of flies in the pool is going to be listed in column A, and the PCR results are going to be listed in column B. In column B, 0 means that the PCR was negative, and 1 means that the PCR result from that pool was positive. Here we have a total of 1,071 flies that have been tested, and you can see that almost all of them have been tested in pools of 50, 22 pools of 50. But to get that last 21 out of the 1,071, we have one pool that only has 21 flies. So we have an unequal number of flies in the pools. It's not equal pools of 50 all the way down here. We do have 22 pools of 50 and one pool of 21. So we have unequal pool sizes. Now, in order to format this for use by the program, it does not like to use it in an Excel-based format. It uses it in a comma separated value, or CSV format. So to convert this to a CSV format, the first thing that we do is go up here and delete the header lane. Okay, it does not like anything except data in its formatting here. So we're going to delete that off. And then we're going to go up here and we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Export. And we're going to go to Change File Type. And we're going to choose CSV, delimited file here. And we're going to hit the Save As button. And we're going to go ahead and save that off to the desktop. And we can go ahead and close this file out now. Sorry, I have something else running here. I'm going to minimize that and go back to the desktop. And you can see right here we have the Excel separated value file that's been saved to the desktop here. Now we're all set to go and run Pool Screen 2.0. This is Fullscreen 2.0, which is the program with the little black fly logo on it here, which is labeled PS2. We're going to double click on that. You're going to get a screen that's up here that's going to ask you whether you have equal pool sizes or unequal pool sizes. In our case, of course, we have unequal pool sizes, so we're going to leave the unequal pool size chart or little button chosen. We're going to hit OK here. Then we have to add our data into the program. So we're going to go up here and choose Data on the Fullscreen program, choose File, and it's going to open up here to our desktop in this case, and we're going to go down and we're going to choose the comma separated value file, here, Microsoft CSV file for trial PCR. And we're going to go ahead and open that. And now that's been opened up into the program, and then we can just hit Run. And here are our results. We had 22 pools, 3 of the pools were positive. In this case, the point estimate of the infection here, or the prevalence of the infection, is calculated in 3 different ways. We usually use the maximum likelihood way because simulations have shown that this has been the most accurate. You can see here that we have 3 times 10 to the minus 3 prevalence, or 0.3% of the flies that are going to be carrying infective larvae in this case. And down here we have the confidence intervals. There are 4 different calculations of confidence intervals. Again, the Bayes credibility interval turns out to be the one that seems to be the best from the simulations that Chuck Catoli has run. And you can see that our prevalence of infection here is 4.9 times 10 to the minus 4 to 7.1 times 10 to the minus 3, or 0.05% to 0.7%. You can just now record these results here or print them if you'd like. These are the results that you would like to be able to report. So you can see here that we have an infection rate that's much, much higher than the 1 in 2,000 that we would have expected to have. So we can exit this program. Now, the second metric that WHO uses is in a case where you have fly densities that are quite low. Okay, in this case, in order to really get a 95% confidence interval that's less than 1 in 2,000, you really have to test about 6,000 flies that you've collected. And in many cases, no matter how hard you try, it's really difficult to collect a total of 6,000 flies in places where the vector densities are really low. So what the WHO has decided in those cases, what you can do, instead of using this less than 1 in 2,000 metric, you can calculate the annual transmission potential. And if the upper bound, once again, of the 95% confidence interval is less than 25 infective larva exposure per year, it's believed that that's below the point where the parasite population can maintain itself, and you can stop treatment, and you've basically eliminated that parasite population from an operational transmission zone or from a country, or however you're going to do this. So in order to do this, it's a little more complicated, and you need 2 different data sets to actually calculate the transmission potential. The first is the PCR results that you get from your pool screening, just like we had before. And the second is the collection data. You need to have the collection data where you've had the people that are out there collecting this and recording their data on the number of flies that they have collected per unit time. Another third point that you really need to do is to know the total number of daylight hours that are in the transmission season. So we actually have 2 different programs that do the calculations for this, and we'll start by looking at how to calculate the total number of daylight hours, which are the hours where the flies are biting for yourself. So here what we're going to do is start by a program called the Make Hour Calculator that's here. And you just double click on this to start it up. Up here under Action, choose Get Data. And basically what it's asking you for is the dates where your transmission season starts and the dates where the transmission season ends. In some cases, if you have a tailwater that's below a dam, for example, that's going to be the entire year. In many other places, in Africa, for example, the transmission season really only occurs during the rainy season. Let's say from the 1st of June through the end of October, for example, in many places. So what you can do is start by entering the start of the transmission season. In this case, we're going to enter June 1st, which is the 6 month, 1 day. And let's say you collected them all in the last year, 2024. So enter 2024. And we'll say the end date on this is going to be October 31st, which will be right before November 1st. So we'll put in 10/31, 2024. Okay, and then finally it's going to ask for your approximate latitude. This only has to be pretty close within degrees and minutes. It's not really that important, and whether you're in the northern or southern hemisphere. In this case, for the example, I'm going to choose the latitude for Lome, Togo, which is 6 degrees and 7 minutes. And then if I hit OK, it will tell me the total number of hours, daylight hours during this proposed transmission season, which is from the 1st of June to the end of October. In Lome, Togo, the total number of daylight hours is 1,877.44. You don't have to really pay that much attention to the 0.44. You can just record your daylight hours, which you're going to need later, at 1,877 on a pad or something someplace. So we can enter this in the next step of the operation that we're going to do. So I'm going to close this window down here now. And now we're going to go and we're going to have to convert our files for our collection data and for our PCR results as we have before. So I'm going to start by looking at the collection data and show you how this is formatted. Okay, here are the collection data. What I'm assuming here is that you've had one human landing collector that's been working in the sort of standard that we do, which is from sunrise to sunset. Along the equator, this is approximately 12 hours. So usually you have these people work from sunrise till around noon, and then they can take a break from noon to 1 for lunch, and then they start to working again, and they work after lunch from 1 o'clock till the sun sets. So that whole period is approximately 12 hours that they're working during that period, and they have an hour off for lunch, so that would mean that they were actually collecting for 11 hours. So here what we have in this column B here is the collection time, the number of hours that they actually work to collect during the day. And in column A, you record the number of flies they collected in each one of those hours. Now, in this time, what I'm going to assume is that you can see I've varied these things in this thing, varied the collection number hours for different days. Most of the time, the weather's been good and they've collected for the entire day. A couple of the days, though, let's say, for example, here on row 12 and down here on row 24, we'll assume that what's happened there is that they started collecting in the morning and it started to rain really hard, so they broke off and they didn't bother to collect for the rest of the day. Same thing on aisle 12 or row 12. What we're assuming there is that for whatever the reason, they only managed to get 9 hours done for that day rather than 12 hours for the day. So each day you just want the human landing collector to record the number of hours that they collected during that day and the total number of flies that they collected. And that's all the data that you're going to need for the daily collections to do these calculations. Once again, this program runs on comma separated value files. And so what we need to do, first of all, is to go up here and delete our header row again, because it only wants data. It doesn't want to have any sort of names in there. And then we're going to go ahead and save this and export it again as a comma separated value file like we have previously. And we'll put this back up on the desktop like we did before. Okay, we can now exit the Excel spreadsheet program here. And you can see that here it is now saved this. Where did it put it? Collection trial. Here it is up here. It turns out that the file that I have here with the number of flies that I had estimated in here was collected was that 1,071, and I assumed that all those flies went and were collected, mostly, remember, in pools of 50 from the first run that we did, with a single pool of 21. So my trial PCR file looked exactly the same as it did from the one that we ran for pool screen 2.0. Most of the pools were 50 flies or 50 fly heads, And the PCR results are shown here as 0 for PCR negative and 1 for PCR positive. I've saved this previously, as you know, as a CSV file. So now we're ready to go ahead, and we're able to go ahead and start this Pool Screen 3.0 program. This is the one that's labeled Pool Screen OAPA A1 because OAPA was the one who actually paid for this originally. I'm going to double click on this little logo here, and it's going to open up the program. We start here by entering the specifications. Okay, the specifications are, we're going to choose a poor data structure, which basically means that what we have done is we've actually taken the flies that have been collected and pooled them together in pools of equal pool sizes, roughly, or maximum pool sizes of 50, rather than taking every individual day's collection and screening those individually one after another, which would be an optimal data structure. We choose a 95% confidence interval because that's, of course, what we really want to know is what our 95% confidence interval. Choose the output data level as normal. It asks for the average number of larvae that are in a head of an infected fly. We usually choose 1 for this because when you're in an area where you have good MDA, the density of microfilariae is usually low. And in OAPA, when they did the studies, they found that most of the infectious flies that they obtained by dissection only had 1 larva in it. So we're going to assume 1. If you have data from dissections that show that the larva numbers are higher, the average numbers of larvae in an infected fly in these areas is actually a little bit higher than that. Just change that to 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever it's going to be. The exposure hours, these are the total number of daylight hours in the transmission season. Remember, we calculated that using the make hour multiplier. In this case, we're going to put in 1,877. And we're going to go ahead, now that we have it chosen as poor data structure, 95% confidence interval, normal, 1 larva per head, and 1,877 hours. We're going to hit OK. It's going to give us a little warning and say that this is, we have chosen a non-optimal data structure. In fact, with the simulations, it turns out the results are almost exactly the same. So it doesn't really matter. And if you choose unequal pool sizes here, we're all set to go, which is basically the pool sizes that we had previously. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now we're going to go ahead and go up here and go to File, and we're going to choose our data files. So the first thing that it's going to ask for is the collection data file, which was our CSV file, comma separated value file, which I've chosen here, label collection trial. Choose that one and choose Open. And now it's going to ask us for the results on the PCR screening. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to choose that same trial PCR file that we prepared earlier, and we're going to choose Open on that. And now we're going to go ahead and hit Run, and the program is running. And what you have here is all of the great output that you have. We tested 30 pools total. Total number of insects collected were 1,071. Number of pools tested was 22. The number of pools gathered is the collection data, the number of collection days that we had. Positive pools were 3. Again, we have the first production out here of the point estimates. You can see here we have the biting rate in terms of hours, the proportion of vectors that were infected, which is 1.7 times 10 to the minus 3. And it calculates a point estimate for our seasonal or annual transmission potential. In this case, the point estimate is 10.8, or a person will be exposed to on average 10.8, 10.9 larvae per year. Of course, the most important thing here is the upper bound of the 95% confidence interval for these parameters. And we're looking down here at the seasonal transmission potential. The lower bound of the seasonal transmission potential is 0, and the upper bound here is 40.8, or close to 41. So what this means is that, of course, our upper bound of our 95% confidence interval is 40, which is above 25, which means this particular area would have not been able to pass the WHO criteria. And with that, that's the way the programs are running, and I'd like to thank you all very much, and please go ahead and have some fun playing with the programs.